Welcome to the Tom Golly Official Podcast. With me today is Krissy Nordhoff. He is a Nashville-based composer, producer, arranger, entrepreneur, host of the Couragecast podcast, also founder of the Walker Stalkers Podcast for the Walking Dead fans. He's the founder of Quiet Time Music. He is also the CEO, founder of Writing Worship, the community, and a partridge in a pear tree. So,
That's
Krissy,
good. I love that.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, man. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah. So we met once.
Very quickly,
very briefly at, it was one of those 19 miles writers rounds, which was kind of awesome to get to be there and share the stage with some of the people, and seeing some of the people who were in the audience was really cool. I saw James Teely back there. I saw Steve Fee back there, and it's like, wow, these are all people normally they're on the stage, and I'm like in the seats, like, wow, that's so good. So it was really cool to have it the other way, and they probably weren't like, wow, that's so good. They probably had other opinions, but
no,
you know.
who knows?
But man, thank you for being here. Your wife is Krissy Nordhoff.
Yep.
Okay. Fun fact: you took her last name. No, I'm kidding.
Well, what's so funny is it used to be like people didn't. Krissy was just a mom, a stay-at-home mom for years, and I was more the one that was introduced as this is the wife of Krissy Nordhoff.
Sure.
But now I'm literally like the last couple of years I've really noticed I'm just the tag-along guy. I'm the husband, of Krissy, which is great. I love it.
So she won a Dove Award.
Just last week.
So that's number two.
She's been nominated several times, but she won for Your Great Name with Natalie Grant, and then Famous For with Torrin Wells, Jen Johnson.
Yeah.
She's nominated for a Grammy too. So I was super
awesome.
proud of her. Proud husband.
Yeah.
We've worked together for 25 years.
Cool.
So
now you got a really nice paperweight or two to.
Yeah. Well, we got to pay for it.
Do you?
Yeah, you do have to pay for it.
I didn't know that. If you don't mind, what's the price tag?
It's
on
like
it?
$300 for a Dove Award.
$300.
Yeah. It's okay though. It's worth it.
What's it made out of?
It's pretty nice. I mean,
I've seen them. I've it's interesting. I've seen them. I won't touch them. It's kind of like, for me, I'm a hockey player guy, so it's like you don't touch the Stanley Cup. If you do, you'll never win one, kind of thing. So every time I've been in a studio or someone's got one, they're like, "Here you go." I'm like, "Nah, man, no."
No, I don't want to be responsible.
And it's funny
for it.
because it's weird in this industry. People who haven't won one are like, "I don't care," and then people who win them are like, "I don't care." It's so weird.
Yeah, I do care. I mean, it matters. You had I remember Sam Hart talking on your podcast a couple episodes ago about the Jesus Music movie.
Yeah,
and Krissy the same. She grew up with that, and it was always her dream. She never imagined. I mean, just be honest. I mean, it's a huge honor, and it's just to get the recognition is a big deal. Yeah.
And we were talking before we started rolling, like in this town, I mean, first off, to get people to even like acknowledge you exist is hard enough in this town.
Right.
So to get recognition for what you've contributed, whether it's as a writer or as an artist, is definitely special for sure.
Yeah. We have nightmare stories of, ever since Krissy and I met and we started dating, she was immediately signed to a record label that's no longer in existence right now. But, we were very ignorant about how to do this record business thing. I was just working at Warner Alliance, which was a small Christian label, and she was new to town, amazing singer, songwriter. We had, you remember PFR, the group PFR, the guy who's Joel, anyway, I can't remember his name right now, but he was going to produce it, and super great relationship. But Krissy became too difficult, and so they dropped her, and they never released a record. And then ever since then, I remember she had a meeting when she was 29 or 30. Sorry, if you were 25, I'd sign you right away. You're just too old for a female. As a female, there was just a lot more. We've had our dreams crushed over and over again.
What would you say the age cutoff is these days?
I think for women, it's way younger than for men. I think men can get signed in their late 30s, 40. I mean, look at Hope Darst.
Yeah.
That's changing. I think she's, in the worship space. That's a unique situation. But I think the majority of women, 99.9% of women, if you're 26 or older, you're almost too old. But men, I think it's in their mid 30s.
Yeah,
late 30s.
Because it's definitely interesting. I mean, looking at the bulk of who's out there and who's kind of big right now, and they're all. I mean, some of these bands are bigger now in their 40s. Like Mercy Me is bigger now than they probably ever were, and they're continuing to grow, and they're growing. They're even getting. Like I guess the age group that used to like them is continuing to find them and like them at that age group, even as though they're getting older. Casting Crowns seems to continue to be doing it. And then,
male vocalists tend to, I think, do better long-term, have more long-term careers in this industry.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 41, and when I moved to Nashville, I was 35, I mean, I had lots of high hopes that I'd at least have a conversation, but, it's never happened for me. And I've done some big things as an indie. I mean, I've gotten on shows where I've had friends of mine who do have record labels who are like, how'd you get on that? I don't know. They asked me, I just emailed them and gave them a link to what I do, and they said yes, which is kind of story of my life. I find myself in situations I just don't belong in all the time. And people are like, how'd you do that? I had Jack Vale on the podcast, and I announced it like kind of officially that it was coming out. It's actually out today. Yeah. But I've literally got a phone call from somebody going like wanting to know like how did I make that happen? Because I was slightly insulted, and he's my friend, so I'm not like mad at him, but I was kind of like, thanks, man, for saying my podcast is so new and so small. Why would they want to be on it? Like.
No, but it's really
because I asked,
dude. That's right. That's the key. Is you just asked.
Well, you're not allowed to ask in this town, though.
Well, yeah, I agree with you in some ways.
If I it's a funny story. There's a record label that just kind of launched. You know what? I don't even care. I'll tell you a story.
Okay.
It's Lula Street Records and Wisdom Moon.
Yep.
Now, what they're doing, I see what they're doing, and it wouldn't be a fit for me anyway. But I reached out to them more on the capacity of, hey, I own a podcast studio and we produce podcasting content. We'd love to work with you in some capacity. I'm also an artist, so I understand how that all works and blah, blah, blah. And the response I got was, sorry, we don't accept unsolicited material. I'm like,
that wasn't at all,
dude. That wasn't at all what I was talking about. Right. Like now, he laughed about it. I laughed about it, and he's like, "Well, thank you." He goes, "I've just reread. Like I had to reread what you said. He just caught the last part that I'm an artist and blah blah blah. Right. So it's fine, but it's like the defenses are up from everybody. Like we don't accept. And what I find interesting is I'm looking around me, and I feel like as an indie, I'm pretty well established. And granted, I've really throttled back since COVID. Because I think like most artists at my level or even just slightly above, a lot of people are like, oh man, I think I need to focus on, I think, we've been focusing on something else and I kind of enjoy that. Yeah. But, it's like one of those things where I feel like, I have, when I was full throttle, I mean, I was touring successfully. I was able to put dates together what I wanted to. I was making money. When I would go to a festival and sell merch, we'd count out my merch and they'd be like, hey, you sold just as much as the headliner. And I was like a 10 a.m. like nothing.
Because you worked it.
Right. And I stayed there. Like I do things that other people aren't. Right. I literally stayed there the entire day. From the minute we got off the stage, I was at that merch table until 10 o'clock at night, hanging out with people, throwing footballs around with the kids. And, people are like, hey, I heard, someone told me that you had a great song called Keep Fighting. Where can I find it? I tell them about it, and then later maybe they listen to it on their phone or something. I don't know. They come back and they're like, hey man, I want bracelets and the shirt. I'm like, right. How is this happening?
Yeah, that's so cool.
And I mean, I've proven I can do this, and it hasn't worked for me. And I get people who are on the label world, and they're like, well, you're probably too New York for them, or oh, you're probably too old. There's probably a lot of things, and I see what these new upstart labels are signing, and it looks like they're signing people who for me, I'm sorry, if they're a business and they want to make money, why are they signing people who haven't proven they can handle the road? They can handle touring. They can handle it. They're taking kids out of churches that have never toured and, have never marketed themselves, never done a thing, just because they think, well, if we get them with the right writers, this is going to work. And it's like, they can have all that, but if they don't have what it takes to hit the road and go out and sell merch, do the hard thing, be away from your family, prove that. So
it's totally the opposite of what you would think a business, how a business should be run. Like you want people who have something to say. Yeah. You want people who have experience. Yeah. And you want people who have proven they can get the job done. Now, I would say that people like Mercy Me, they were on the road quite a bit. They proved themselves to be an act that had the potential. Yeah. They aligned themselves with a manager who was very well connected, who could make things happen for them. And I was in the midst of that. I worked all the Mercy Me stuff with I Can Only Imagine. And when that all got started, we had Jeff Mosley's label at Word Entertainment. We distributed all of that. Yeah. It was an amazing season to see it all happen.
And those guys are like how when I first moved to Nashville, I was like, okay, this is the game plan. And I kind of modeled it off of what I saw them do. Mike from Mercy Me, the guitar player, he told me, like, man, he goes, we just hit the road hard. Right. So I would go and play anything and everywhere I could. Now, back when they were coming up, that worked a little better than it does now. Churches were a little more inviting to go, yes,
Where did you move from? From New York?
Long Island, New York, where there is no Christians.
Why did you move here?
There's no real Christian scene there.
See, I think the big mistake people make is they move here, to be honest.
Well, for me, it was definitely not a mistake.
Okay.
Just because literally, I spent the better part of 7-8 years trying to build something, trying to find people who can write songs, trying to find people who wanted to play music more than just like half-assed.
Right.
And that's half-vast, I said, with a V, by the way, to my listeners.
You didn't say vaxxed, though.
So, it was one of those things where, I knew that what I needed was songs and I needed musicians, and neither of those were there at the level that I needed. And I'm just the type of guy, if I don't immerse myself directly into something, it's not going to work for me.
I hear what you're saying, and I think there's absolute benefits and upside. And I'm not saying for you it was necessarily a mistake. I'm just saying I think too many people move here, and there's something about being familiar. They're almost too familiar. You're almost too close to people here. There's almost this sense of, man, he is making it. They are making it in this region. They're like the bomb in this region. Why don't we bring them in? And there's almost this sort of mystery. Yeah, I think that gets the bubbles burst when you come here, and you basically there's too much access. Does that make sense in some way?
I get it.
It almost feels like there's just too much access to that person when they're here. As a songwriter, I think there's more benefits to being here.
Sure.
For sure. And I think you can build a songwriting career here in Nashville because this is where it's at.
Yeah. It's, like for me, being in Long Island, I had found it's interesting. Somebody had told me that recently I went back to Long Island to play a hometown show. And, I had a guy that I've known a long time, and, he was like one of the scene musicians, if there was a scene. And he even kind of said, he's like, man, he goes, you left, and like it really wasn't a scene anymore, because I was one of,
you were the scene.
I was one of the, pretty much, like,
I was the storm.
I was one of the people who were pushing for events, hitting people up at churches, going, hey, I know you guys got like a large fellowship hall. Why don't we put it together a night? I'll bring the sound system. Yeah. I know the bands. I know the people. And I was building that. And then after I left, there was some people who tried to do it and monetize it, and it didn't work.
It's because you're a leader.
Yeah.
You're a leader. You kind of were meant to be the tip of the spear. I think.
And that's part of why I'm doing this podcast the way I'm doing it is a little different because, you know, I at least here in Nashville and in the Christian music industry, there's you know, and again, you know, some of the things that I say may make people hate me, but you know, it's just the truth. But, you know, there's a lot of fluffiness that happens and a lot of not realness that, you know, and people hide a lot of themselves. And this style podcast that I'm trying to do here is I'm hoping just opens people up a little bit. Like, I love what the Rent Collective's doing. I mean, they're talking about some real stuff. They're talking about their thoughts on drinking.
Right.
They admitted to, hey, we'll go have 2 beers after a show. Like, nobody admits that, you know, like that, but that's real. And I love that, you know, I mean, I drank a bottle of whiskey before. No, I'm kidding. I didn't do that, but
I used to do international sales.
Yeah.
And everyone other than the Canadians drank. Well, actually some of the Canadians did, but it was very common for us to go out and have a beer or have a glass of wine or just, you know, we weren't getting slobbery drunk, but we were enjoying relationship together. And none of them were drunks, and they all think Americans are drunks, and they don't know how to handle their liquor because we hide it, and we, especially in the Christian scene, we do. It's not something that we want out there.
Yeah, it's definitely hidden, and for good reason. In some cases, for argument's sake, like I think it would be a shame for someone to come and play a worship event at a recovery event.
Oh my gosh.
And then, you know, be like, well, cool, now we're going to go out to the bar, you know. So like, I mean, look, I admit we've gone out to dinner on a tour, and, you know, I tell everyone on the band, hey, if anyone wants a beer, you can have one. I'll pay. But what I do is kind of a rule is if we've played a recovery event that night, no.
Yeah.
Nope. Out of solidarity for what we've just done, and because, you know, we don't want those people leaving here and going and, you know, taking a bump or having a drink or even possibly seeing that. So tonight we refrain.
Right.
But I think there's good reason. And also on that, you know what? Yeah, I like you'll never see a photo of me with a beer in my hand because I don't think that's necessary to have out there. Right. Also, in the Christian industry and as a Christian artist, there are some people who are going to be like, "Oh, cool. What kind of beer is that?" And then the other half who are going to start throwing, you know, all kinds of scripture verses at me and telling me how I'm going to hell. Right. So that's often been a challenge as a Christian artist is where, man, like you're trying to do this amazing thing for God. People don't understand the sacrifice that you put into it. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the money, the debt that you have accrued doing it, yet people want to attack you over something silly. Right. That just, you know, and most of the time, if we're being honest, that's just them, you know, just trying to feel better about something that they're hiding. Right. So,
yeah,
you know.
Sure, of course.
So how long have you been in town? How long have you been in Nashville for?
Moved here in 1994.
Okay.
Was 23 years old, wasn't a Christian.
Okay.
Had been listening to the typical crossover artists at the time, which were the three, the trifecta, Michael W. Smith, Amy Grant, Stephen Curtis Chapman, a little bit of Out of the Gray, Cindy Morgan. I was exposed to some of that music. There was a Logos bookstore at Ithaca College, next to Ithaca College in downtown Ithaca, New York, which is where I went to school. And my buddy found this store and found all this new music, and we listened to it. So all these seeds had been planted in me. I was not a believer at all. And I remember reading the liner notes, and I was studying either music. I was either television, radio, or music. Sorry, I keep hitting this. Television, radio is what my major was, but I'd spent half my time in the music building. Yeah. Just playing piano, writing instrumental music and stuff. And so we loved music. My roommate and I, he ended up being my roommate for 3 years. And we both came into a relationship with Christ just, you know, after we moved here to Nashville. So I moved here to Nashville first, wanted to work in Christian music, but worked at a jingle production company for 2 years, joined a church, accepted Christ, got totally, you know, pretty radically saved, and started my journey. And through a friend, I had heard about an opening at Warner Christian. Oh, wow. Warner.
So you were a jingle writer?
No, I was not a jingle writer.
I was going to say, I was like, are you Charlie Harper?
No, I'm a salesperson that loves music. So I've always been more the business
Yeah.
on the business side.
Sure.
Love the concept of monetizing creativity.
There you go.
That's always been kind of my passion and what I saw. I've studied online business a lot as well in the last 10, 15 years. But when I moved here, I sold jingles, and nobody, like 1994 Nashville was a completely different city.
Oh, yeah.
No, but everybody thought it was just country music, old hillbilly country music town.
Traffic probably wasn't as bad.
Traffic was not. It was literally 10 minutes anywhere I was to get into town. But I worked on Music Row, and I got this job, which was like a draw against commission. So I didn't even know what a draw against commission was.
Right.
So I didn't realize that I had to pay it back with commissions I earned.
Yeah.
So for like 6 months, I made nothing. Like I made the draw, but I brought no business in. It took me 6 months to finally get business in, and I worked there for about 2 years and never made back what I earned. But it was a great learning experience. I got to represent this amazing production company and work with writers that just were pro writers. A guy named George Tarrin, Carl Marsh, and he was doing all the ZZ Top stuff at the time. And George Tarrin was like a writing god at the time. Like he was writing tons of country hits, but he was also doing jingles on the side. And I'd work with him to do like these pitches.
Would you agree that it's probably a lot easier to sell someone else's art than your own?
Absolutely, because you are too close to it.
Yeah, it's interesting because for a while I was sort of I don't know. It's complicated. I was coaching, mentoring, and managing like a young artist, and I found it so easy to pitch because when they said no, there was no way to take it. I didn't take it personally,
right?
And but I found myself a lot more successful in asking onto shows and getting people to agree to things without even hearing it, because it was like, well, this is easy to sell. This isn't me, and because I can push past those no's without getting self-righteous.
Well, you would be a great manager for somebody,
and I felt like I was. And in that situation, unfortunately, it's. My passion for being successful at what I do didn't match the artist even close, and it just sort of fell apart. And it actually made me realize, man, that management is probably not for me, only because, it's just too frustrating sometimes. Like it's very hard to carry someone else's weight for them.
Yeah. Especially when they don't want to carry it,
and that's ultimately
as hard as you.
And that's sort of what happened. It's like and sadly, it's one of those things where no matter how often it's just like being a dad, like trying to tell my kids, like, hey, when you graduate, life's going to get hard,
right? It's
going to get expensive, it's going to get this, and when it happens, they're like, oh, it's so hard. Like I tried to tell you,
I told you,
it's one of those things. Now in artistry, they have two choices: either I always use analogy of like, hey, life is like digging a tunnel, right? Or digging a trench. So you have two choices: grab a shovel or go home. Well, in this case, the artist didn't grab a shovel, and of course, turned me into the bad guy. It's all my fault that they couldn't put the work in.
Right.
What do you want? But what I have learned from the process is to, and this is something I learned from an entrepreneur, a friend of mine, who, similar thing, he has no problem. He sells his own services and himself, and people say no all the time, and it doesn't faze him. And I'm like, why? He goes, man, and he told me something he learned about listening to Jim Carrey, of all people, where Jim Carrey talked about how, like, you spend 3 months being this character of an act, of like, you're like Stanley Ipkiss in The Mask, right? Spend 3 months being this guy, and then now you're in your car, you're driving home, and you're Jim Carrey, and you're like, who even is that? I don't, that's just another character I'm back into. So he's learned to go, you know what? Me as an artist, that's a character. That's somebody else. So when I'm selling that, I have the same name as that guy, but it's not me.
Right.
So when they say no, they're not saying no to he goes, if they're saying no to the artist,
persona.
Maybe they're saying no to persona,
but not me.
And it doesn't hurt my feelings, or vice versa. Or they're saying no to the salesman, but not the product.
It's the first step to schizophrenia, actually. But
I think all salesmen have to be.
Yeah,
We have to be a little crazy.
Yeah, you do.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
And I've been into the sales game for a long time. I've sold everything. You know, if it's not nailed down, I've sold it.
Yeah.
And so for me, you know, again, I have people all the time ask, "How'd you do that? How'd you do that?" I asked, and you know, to be a little more arrogant about it, I go, "Oh, well, I told him what I wanted, and he thought it was his idea."
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, well, how do you mean that? And I start recommending books.
I'm talking about a series right now called 10 Ways to Be Successful with Zero Talent. I think somebody else created the list of 10 things.
Yeah.
But I'm just like taking my own spin on it.
Yeah.
And as a salesperson, you pretty much don't have to have any talent. You just have to know how to talk to people. You got to know how to ask. You got to know how to have the right attitude.
Yeah.
You got to know, it's really just choices that you make.
Yeah.
It's the talent gets developed. You start to realize kind of what you're good at as far as in the process.
Yeah.
But you really don't have to be successful to have any particular talent. You just need to make good choices that are going to lead to that success.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I heard a quote recently. So, you know, you're sitting in my podcast studio. This is not just, I didn't build this for the Tom Golly podcast. You know, it's definitely something I utilize, but it's for a business that we created to produce podcasts for others. And it's been a struggle because of who we've been marketing to. We tried to go a certain angle with it that just, okay, like Grant Cardone always says, like, who's got my money, right? Well, we think that this group of people has our money, the people who want to start a podcast, and
I love Grant Cardone.
Yeah, so we're like, all right, well, let's go solve their problem. Well, we've turned out that, you know, hey, everyone wants to start a podcast, but nobody wants to pay for it.
Right.
Okay, wrong people. Now we figured out, hey, the people who already have podcasts but don't have quite what we've built or need a team, they've got our money. So now we're kind of attacking that. But you know, anytime you're a startup, it's a struggle, it's a grind, you know, and it's one of those things that we've been battling, you know, right? And things have started to pick up for us. Maybe it's the weather. I think people are finally like, hey, we're going to be indoors, let's do this. But I heard a Tony Robbins clip on like Instagram Reels, and it was like, yes, that I'm going to tell everybody that is this. He basically says, you know, if you want to take the island, you got to burn the ships. Yeah, because if the two options are death or success, most of the time you're going to be successful. Right. You know, right. And that's well why said. And that's one of those things where, like, for me, like you talked about earlier how you said, like, people make the mistake of moving here in Nashville. And I feel like, yes, I agree with that. However, for me, I had to burn the ships because I knew once I came here, there's no way I was going back like a lot of people do with their tail between their legs, going, Nashville kicked my butt. No way. Like, you know, basically.
You're determined to succeed no matter what it is. Yeah. And it may not be the way you thought it was going to be.
100%, yeah. And you know what?
You didn't think you'd be starting a podcast.
1,000%. No, I didn't. And you know, it's interesting because initially I thought, hey, I'm building my podcast to go do something else. And what I'm realizing, this is such an enhancement to what I've had. And someone even said to me recently, they go, man, you're building something special. You got music ministry, you got you know, you have your other businesses that are going to provide income, and this podcast is helping our podcast business. So I'm like, wait a minute, I'm realizing what I'm building. I'm building the ability to not have to say no to that church that can't afford to have me and my band come out and play. Yeah, is I'm having these streams and
multiple
this
streams of income.
Yeah. Right. The other problem I run into, like most, and I think you'd agree with this, social media can paint a picture of a person and not really be able to tell the whole story. Yeah. And, you know, I love to have deep conversation. It's my favorite thing. But when you do that on Facebook, it can come across argumentative, or people read it like this is Ross King, who's a dear friend of mine. He
first guest on the podcast.
And there for a reason, because he is the guy that I cry to whenever things go wrong in this industry.
Poor Ross.
He's the first guy I'm like, Ross, help me. Because he gets it, and he is the most empathetic, amazing human being that I've ever met. We've butt heads a few times, but a lot of times, and he put it this way. He goes, people, and himself included, when they've read the way I'll message something, it could be very simple as like, like I fully disagree with, like maybe say I fully disagree with you on that, Ross, and but we'll talk about it next time I see you.
Right.
That's how I meant that.
Uh-huh.
He'll read it as if, and this is what he imagines in his head, is I fully disagree with you, Ross, and next time I see you, we're going to talk about it. That's how people like perceive
That's how my
me.
wife perceives me.
Right, but that's how people seem to perceive me when they
Right.
read stuff.
Right.
Or, when I'll write, like, I'll complain about, like, recently I was like, I don't mean to be negative, and I complained about the fact that I'm standing in a busy restaurant and there's like 5 empty tables. Mm-hmm. And we're like, why aren't they sitting people? That
Right.
bothers me. As an entrepreneur and as a business owner, I'm kind of like, get those butts in the seats.
Right.
Tell them, hey, we're really backed up. We'll get you drinks right away.
Mm-hmm.
Please be patient with us. If you do that, you're not going to have a table. Where's our food?
Right.
They told us, they sat us because we don't have to stand in the lobby.
Yep.
But people read that. I meant it more like a Seinfeld, more like, I don't mean to be negative, but, why did they do that? Like, it's just like that. Like, why did they put in the 5 tables?
Right,
what?
right.
But people take
That's
it
a
like.
really bad Seinfeld impression.
It is bad.
Yeah,
It's
that's okay.
Well, it's meant to be bad, George, why?
That's actually better. I like it.
Give me some time.
Hey, you're from New York. You could do that. You
I
could
can.
do that.
Yeah. My Tony Soprano's even worse, It's like, what? You think I want to wait in the lobby here? Christopher? But but ultimately people perceive things wrong. So having a podcast and what I find is I had people flaming me for something. I can't remember the situation, but I had posted something and people were attacking me and I'm like, holy crap. So I went on a Facebook Live. And I was like, hey, I just want to address this. Mm-hmm. I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from. And I explained myself better. And even the people who were attacking me were going back, deleting their comments.
Really?
And messaging me like, oh, I get what you mean now. I didn't articulate myself well enough and people received it wrong.
Right.
So for me, it's like doing this has really helped people who maybe thought, wow, that guy is aggressive and he's intense. You go, oh, he's actually kind of cool. Okay, I see what he means now.
Yeah.
And it's been a huge help. Mm-hmm. And but yeah,
I love podcasting. It's been something that has changed my life.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, and the crazy thing for me was, man, I've become this jaded indie artist. Everyone in this industry hates me. No one likes me. No one wants to work with me. And that's not true. I've discovered
That'd be a good name for your podcast. Instead of the official Tom Golly, it's like Jaded. Tom Golly, Jaded.
It's funny. Initially, one of the names on my list was I was going to call it "Everyone Hates Tom Golly."
That's good. I like that. You got to play it.
Right.
You got to play
But no,
with it.
but that was kind of what the story I was telling myself, and so what I do is in this self-loathing thing, and I've done it as a songwriter. You hit up songwriters who have I have no business asking to write with me, and when they say no, I take it personally. Like, you said no to me? What a jerk! Like, I don't even know who I am.
That's kind of funny, actually,
Right.
when you think, really process that. Like,
Right.
slow down for a second and process the fact that your ego didn't like the fact that they had an ego. It's like, wait a minute. Let me look at myself here.
I'm also it's one of those things too. This is the approach I always take. It's like swing for the fences, and if you hit a double, cool.
Yeah.
Because if you swing for a single, you're going to strike out. Like, there's no middle ground. It's almost like you don't see it because it's backwards, but I have a Grant Cardone 10X hat, and I love the 10X mentality.
That's my number one podcast episode.
Yeah.
Was when I did 10X.
Yeah, 10X mentality, man. It's like, go for 10 times. You may not make 10 times.
But if you get 5 times or 2 times even,
Right.
that's success.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%, man. And I have that approach in my, in almost everything I do. It's like, hey, I'm going to call 10 churches today. No. I'm going to call 100. Mm-hmm. You know what? I might call 50.
The best booking agent I know in this industry, his name is Greg Oliver. Mm-hmm. And he calls 100 people a day. Mm-hmm. I mean, and he's the owner of the business. He has many people working for him. He still, every single day, has a goal of 100 calls. That's a lot of calls to book.
Yeah.
For booking.
100%.
And he probably gets 95 no's or no answers and has 5 good conversations in the day, maybe.
Yeah. So when I started the podcast, I emailed people I was interested in, a few people that I had known already.
Sure.
And man, everyone's they're all saying yes.
Yeah.
One or two people were like, yes, but it has to be like February next year. Hit me up closer to then. Cool. Even Kevin Max wrote me back to which
Awesome.
he don't know me from Adam. He actually messaged me back to go, hey man, I appreciate the invite. And you know what, man? He didn't have to explain himself.
Yeah.
He goes, man, after some stuff recently, he goes, I'm not doing podcasts, I'm not doing anything of the sort. And I'm like, okay.
At least that's an honest response.
Oh yeah. And what I did want to reassure him is, look, I definitely am not going to try to attack you. If anything, I want to help you be heard and more clarified if I can.
Right.
Rather, because I get it, man. You'll go on a podcast or some of these radio shows, and then they'll pull like, so do you believe homosexuality is a sin? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm not interested. I don't think people are even that interested in that anyway.
They're just trying to shock.
Yeah. And really my goal is, man, I want people to listen to every one of these podcasts and glean something from it. Why is this person successful? Or, oh, cool, this successful person's actually a Star Wars geek too. Cool.
Yeah.
Now you're we mentioned this earlier, but you are a founder of a Walking Dead podcast.
Right.
Now I'm assuming you're a fan of The Walking Dead.
So, the backstory on this is, so my neighbor and I started watching The Walking Dead. I binged watched season 1 and 2 on Netflix. I think it was Netflix. Yeah, Netflix. Back in 1992. We both were fans of Lost. Okay, so I had watched I didn't start watching Lost until it was done and on Netflix. So I was kind of going through a Netflix phase.
Okay.
We started watching, we watched season 1 and 2 just on our own, and then we came together and started watching season 3 of The Walking Dead. So he's my neighbor. He also, we connected because he has all this like memorabilia. He went to all the Comic-Cons. He's like a super fan of the TV show Lost. And I was like amazed at all this stuff he had, like all this collectible stuff. And so we started watching it. One night, it was a Thursday night, he says, hey, tomorrow down in Georgia, he called it Sonoya. It's called Sonoy now.
Okay.
Sorry, people of Sonoy, Georgia. But it's just south of Atlanta.
Yeah.
They're filming the final, like a huge episode. There's a lot of chatter on Twitter. And so we got up at 3 a.m, Friday morning, and drove down and got there around 10. Within 15 minutes, we were like one of maybe 8 or 9 people that were just fans, like basically stalking the actors around their trailers. One actress came out and signed a photo, took a picture with us. And over the course of the day, we had the most amazing fan experience. We got to, because they filmed in the town. This was back when Woodbury, I don't know if you watched the show at all, but this is Woodbury was the town that was like the safe town, and there was walls around Woodbury. They basically took Sonoy, part of Sonoy, downtown, and walled it off with all this. It was a big set. And so we hung around the set. We did we scattered around and saw some other places where we knew they filmed.
And when was this?
This was on November 16th, 2012.
Wow.
And I remember it because it was just an amazing day. We met everybody. That night we met Rick Grimes, who's the head character. We met Daryl, who's, also all the women love Daryl.
Didn't Negan kill all of them?
No, he didn't. But
he's not Negan to me. He's John Winchester. He'll always be John Winchester.
We'll get to Negan.
Yeah.
But so we came. It was like a 20-hour day. We were driving home midnight, and we were like high. We couldn't wipe smiles off of our faces.
You were high, huh?
Not high in that way. We were high from a natural high.
I'm kidding.
And we just had a great time. We said we should start a podcast, talk about this. And my partner, who ended up being my partner in the podcast, my co-host, he is a lawyer, and he wrote a legal blog about his trip. And it was his most successful blog post. Wow. I made a video of our day, and it's still on YouTube. And it was just like the amazing day. Somebody called us the Walker Stalkers there. because they put us in their phone as the Walker Stalkers. I'm not sure why, but that's kind of the name they gave us. This one lady gave us. And so we decided we'll just call ourselves the Walker Stalkers.
Yeah.
And that's how it all began. And the first few episodes, we were just like dorks. The first 6 episodes, we were dorks in my basement, like fanboying over our experience. And we were dreaming about being zombies on the show. And, you know, like we had all these goals of what we were going to do.
That's amazing.
Meanwhile, behind the scenes, we were trying to get somebody from the show to come on our podcast. And we eventually got Greg Nicotero, who's the head of special effects, ended up being one of the main directors of the show, senior producers of the show. But at the time, he came on, and we did a shtick. We said, we're going to be a little bit different with our guests. And we decided to write parody songs for our guests. So we asked him what's his favorite song. It was like Led Zeppelin. It was a Led Zeppelin track. And so we wrote a song with... It was like Greg Nicotero. I don't even know the name of the song right now, but anyway, it was that song, and that was his song. He loved it so much he played it for all the other actors on set, and then one by one, every episode from that point on, we had an actor from the show. It became the number 2 show on iTunes podcast within, I think, like 10 episodes.
Wow.
And we had a fan meetup. We had 100 people from all over, from Canada, Oklahoma, Connecticut, wherever, come to Sonoy, Georgia for a tour. And then we got to watch the episode that we were actually there for. It was the season finale. We got to watch that together.
Oh, that's awesome.
We had 3 actors from the show afterwards, kind of do an after party. The lady who plays Carol, Melissa McBride, came on. And that began our journey. So our shtick was, not only did we write songs for every actor, and we would actually write songs with actors, because we're in Nashville, we also brought fans on to ask questions. Cool. And so they got to listen to the interview live. We recorded it. It was a blast.
That is cool.
And that turned into... a larger, we thought, oh, well, let's just do like a small conference or whatever with like a few actors from the show. Well, it ended up being like, we did a Kickstarter. We ended up doing a convention in downtown Atlanta at America's Mart, and it had 11,000 people at it.
Wow.
And from there, that became the Walker Stalker Con. And it basically became like a Comic-Con, and it ended up being a $11 million valuation convention in 17 different cities, 3 different countries, a cruise that sold out in like 24 hours.
It's kind of like Supernatural. They have ridiculous conventions around the world.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that comes in. I forget the production company that even puts it on. But yeah, it's like those people are it's amazing that people will spend what they'll spend
totally
to go do that. And
it was the ride of my life, like 3 years of ride of my life.
That's amazing. Now, did you find any, so like, again, I'm a huge Supernatural fan, and I've had to keep that a bit of a secret.
Okay. I don't know. I don't even know the show. So
you don't know Supernatural?
No, I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
Okay, so you didn't.
Forgive me.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So it's one of those WB shows, and I think initially it appealed mostly to to girls because early seasons, it's the 2 lead actors are just these pretty boys, But as the show got on, it got more and more interesting, and guys like me, like kind of a macho dude, and with
people like you were the stereotype of people that showed up at our Walker Stalker cons.
Well, people like me are definitely big fans of the character in Supernatural, Dean Winchester. Internal struggle, weight of the world on his shoulders.
Right.
Kind of. I can fight the devil myself and win. And in the show he does. But it's definitely a cool show because you got these 2 seemingly ordinary people fighting demons, angels.
Yeah, dude. That's super
vampires.
Yeah, it's all supernatural.
Yeah, but it's also, you can kind of live vicariously, like someone like me, and this as an entrepreneur or as a musical artist, you're always trying to scale the unscalable, right?
Yeah.
So why not like a show where you're where those guys are fighting
Absolutely.
the unbeatable, and winning, So, but yeah, it's one of those things I totally get. The Walking Dead, I don't know what it is about like the zombie genre, never interested me. And I think just because to me, and again, I don't mean this to offend anybody, because
the walkers are offended.
Well, to me, like zombies are a boring enemy. Now, I think it's cool what a lot of the movies and the shows have done. They did it in I Am Legend. Oh, they're actually
World War Z. They were pretty,
but they're actually
scary.
They're scary, but they're actually pretty intelligent. They're not stupid and things like that. And that's cool. It's just, to me, it's not interesting. I have always enjoyed when an enemy or even the good guy has these special powers and abilities, other than just being super strong and aggressive. Like, again, it was weird to me in Supernatural. Like, we have a joke in my house, just because my whole family, we're all Supernatural fans. So, like, literally there'll be this powerful guy in Supernatural that if he snaps his fingers, he'll explode. Right. So, like, my kids will even look at me and be like, "Daddy, don't make me snap." Like, okay, it's just
There's
a running
something
joke.
Though about the zombie apocalypse though, that there's almost like more of a reality that it could possibly happen. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of this fantasy that's not too far from reality.
Right. Like on Election Day.
Right. With Supernatural, it's like, and Marvel, that's why I have a hard time getting into it. It's like to me, it's just over the top. I can't get into it.
You probably like Batman, though.
Batman's fine. Yeah,
right.
I do like the backstory of Batman.
Yeah,
it's more real.
Yeah. Well,
else.
I think the idea that Batman's a regular guy with gadgets and money to back it up.
Right. The Joker, the last Joker, was actually super. Yeah. Crazy.
The problem is in real life, they would follow the money and they'd find them.
Of course they would.
And it's a shame.
Yeah. But, that's the way it is. You got to follow the money.
And they tax him to death.
That's right.
He doesn't pay enough taxes.
Hey, but just to finish that story, I got to be a walker on the show, which was like the highlight of the whole thing, was getting to, for 12 hours, full makeup, full like eye contacts. Like I've never worn contacts before in my life, and let alone like an entire eyeball contact.
So are like the growls like dubbed, or do you have to?
Yeah, no, I think it's overemphasized for sure. I think it's overdubbed, but. Dude, I got shot by one of the lead characters. Oh, and it was fun. They CGI'd my head.
Oh, okay.
And it was great. It was like it was super cool.
I tell you, man, some of that stuff can be so well done. We like to go to the haunted house. A lot of times they do haunted houses and stuff here in Nashville. Yeah. First off,
I don't like going to them. I'm scared.
No. Are you really?
I am. Yeah.
Man. See,
I'm a jumper.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
See, I go in those and I'm like, I always try to get them to break character. Yeah. Because they're all like. This podcast is brought to you in part by Tone Junkie TV, your best source for Kemper, Helix, and impulse response profiles. Check them out on YouTube, all social media at Tone Junkie TV. Also check them on the web store at tonejunkiestore.com. Use promo code Golly to get 50% off site-wide. That's right, 50% off site-wide, tonejunkiestore.com. You're so cute. And you're not supposed to touch them, so I'll pretend like I touched them. And man,
do they start breaking?
I've never gotten one to break even once.
Really?
And what's funny is I've talked to a couple of the people who I know are actors on it, and they're like, dude, trust me, you're probably the 50th person that day trying to do it. And for them, they're kind of like, we're over it. Right. Please don't do that.
Right.
It's just not funny.
It's sort of amateur.
Now, I got to give a lot of credit. One time, we went into this one weird room, and there's this two like girls that are dressed like twin dolls. And they're like chanting something, right?
Those freak me out, man.
Yeah, well, they're chanting something and following us. So I stop, turn around, and I go, "You guys want to play rock, scissors, paper?" And they look at each other, look at me, and at the same time go, "It's rock, paper, scissor," like in unison. And I'm like, I'm just like, that's incredible that they thought of it, said it at the exact same time together. And
were they actually twins?
No,
Did they look like twins?
The makeup was done well, but it just blew my mind at the level of first off, they care so much about what they're doing that they stayed in character and actually responded in a way that was, for me, was hilarious. I was cracking up. I'm like, that's so good. And they were just like, leave us. And it was really funny, but they just did it so well. But that kind of stuff, the people who act it's amazing the level of talent that it probably takes. People don't think it's probably harder. I'm sure it's harder than you thought it would be to act like a zombie.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I was my partner was next to me. So my co-host, James, was next to me, and he was just like, Eric, come on, you gotta like do better. This is not good. Like I think after the first take, I was just not doing. You have to figure out like what's your thing that's going to make you distinguishable. We had to walk like a pretty long way in this scene. And so my thing was like, I had a gimpy leg. But I looked like Daddy Warbucks the way I was like totally makeuped up. So I had to like be Daddy Warbucks with like a really bad, like lame leg. And somehow and that you cannot put your arms out. That's like totally not what zombies do. Zombies keep their hands down. It's like you basically just have to like be limp, but somehow walk. And, I couldn't see anyway because of the contacts. But, you just have to sort of figure out who your character is. I thought I was pretty good by the end.
Which episode is this?
This was season 5, episode 16.
Okay.
14. It's called Spend.
Season 5, episode 14.
Yeah, Spend. It's about halfway through. It's actually the most gruesome episode of the whole series. There's just a lot of blood and guts in it.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being a super fan of it. It's almost like, for me, that would be like, wow, like before I was ever an artist, I was like a Mercy Me super fan. And like, to even like play on the same stage as them would blow my mind. But like, hey man, come sing a song with us would be like, what?
I know.
No. Dude, that's got to be wild.
It was the most surreal experience because I would host panels with them. We'd have a room full of thousands of people. That's crazy. With them on stage, and it was great. It
now,
was really fun.
I would say, to summarize for someone hearing that and going, that must be so cool. The formula for it was they just did it. You just went and you just did it.
We just did it.
You just did it.
Yep.
And we
risked a lot. I mean, we in the beginning, people thought we were crazy, and my wife, I tried to quit 3 times. My partner was, if I didn't have a buddy in it, I would have quit. Completely. But I think doing it with him kind of had that little accountability. But we just had a vision.
Is that still going, or has that come to an end?
It's come to an end.
Okay.
Long story short, my wife hated the show.
Okay.
And I started bringing all the stuff home, and it was just gory horror stuff, which I'm not even a horror guy. I told you I get scared at haunted houses. So so I started bringing the stuff home, and my daughter actually came to a convention. She came back and started having tons of anxiety and fear issues, and she was 5. In hindsight, I should have never taken her. But I was proud. My boys, which were older, loved it. My wife put up with it. Because she saw how much fun I was having. But my daughter started having some major problems that caused us to have serious marital difficulties.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And finally, she basically said, Eric, if you want to keep doing this, that's fine, but I'm going to take the kids and I'm leaving. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
I really tried to temper it as best I could, and just decided, you know what, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I sold my half back to James before it was really, really big. I wish it was valued at, whatever it was valued at, millions of dollars at the time. It wasn't. So I sold my half, and he was very gracious to me. They had another 3 years of like big time run. The funny thing is, I'm usually the accelerator in a relationship.
Sure.
Like with my wife, I'm the one driving and going, but my partner was the accelerator. I was the brakes. And I think financially, he did not have necessarily all the accountability that he probably should have. And I think it just got out of hand and just kind of went sour. In 2018, 2019, I think. Wow. And it probably wouldn't have survived COVID.
Yeah.
Or at least not the, it wouldn't be the same.
Well,
as it is.
I mean, I think that it's never a bad decision to choose your family over anything, know, and that's something. It's funny, man. I've mentioned this in another podcast where I met Darren Mulligan one time. I met him a few times, and then just one day, I saw he was selling a computer. I was looking for a computer, and we met up, and I bought it, and for some weird reason, he goes, "Man, I don't know why I need to tell you this, but he goes, I just want to tell you something that I've learned." He's like, "Don't forsake your family over building this career." Mm-hmm. He's like, "Because I did it for a long time, and yes, it worked out for me, but he's like, he's like, all of a sudden you're looking at your kids going, what? How did you wait? Right. Who are you?
Right.
You grew up. Wait a minute, and all you can say is I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go back." Mm-hmm. He's like, so if he's like trust me when I tell you. He goes, because if it doesn't work out for you in the long run, you're gonna have. He's like, your regret's gonna be worse than mine. Now, he said it in this awesome Irish accent that I really can't mimic well, but it was, it just came from such an amazing place of like, hey man, love what you're doing as an indie. You're working hard, do that. And, I have come to a place post-COVID where like, it's weird because I was home so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was gone almost every weekend, and then working till 9-10 o'clock at night, doing all kinds of things. I mean, I was one of those people where I was literally on social media 24/7, looking for an opportunity to comment on stuff and be where people have heard of me.
Right.
Where I was 24/7, missed my kids growing up.
Mm-hmm. How old are they now?
12 and 18.
Okay.
When I moved to Nashville, they were so my kids didn't live with me when I first moved to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
My kids are the product of a relationship I was in before I was saved, before all that. And they were with their mother, and when I moved to Nashville, some things happened, and they ended up coming to live with me. And at that point, it was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to be an artist, I'm supposed to raise my kids, But we made it work. But I think post-COVID, it's the strangest thing now because like I'm going on the road tomorrow, and I love touring, I love my bro time, I love traveling,
right?
But I got this pit in my stomach, like I'm gonna miss my family.
Yeah,
that's I'm not gonna lie, that's new for me.
Yeah.
Like pre-COVID, I'm like, I can't wait to get out of here. Can't wait to get on the road. And now it's different. We finished the show. I can't wait to get home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I realize what's happened. I've made the decision spiritually, emotionally, physically to choose my family over everything. And it's such a more full feeling.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, my oldest daughter was just in a car wreck just less than a week ago.
Oh, yeah.
Drunk driver blew a red light, crashed right into her car.
She's
scared.
okay?
She's 100% fine. Yeah. Great dad moment to hear like her, tell me exactly like what happened.
Uh-huh.
And the cop who she was with was 2 cars behind her. He saw the whole thing.
Oh, good.
And he actually went, "Yep, that's exactly what happened." Because she's like, I was at the light turned green. I waited 3 seconds, like you always tell me, and I started to go through the intersection and made my turn, and this car came out of nowhere and crashed into me.
Yeah.
The cop said to me, yeah, she's like, she did. She sat at the light for a couple seconds, took off. This drunk driver came down, went like around the stopped cars in the like a turning lane, and then just tried to go around everybody, crashed right into her. And he said to her, he goes, if you didn't wait those 3 seconds, he would have hit you right in the door and you might be badly hurt or worse. But she was totally unscathed, totally fine. And, it's weird, it's just a weird scenario for me because like, obviously I'm a little more protective of my family right now because of what could have happened. And,
Sure.
But it's one of those things where, okay, now I've got to fight with car insurance because of everything, and she needs a car. I remember what it's like to be in an accident that isn't your fault, and unfortunately, in my life experience, my parents were the type to go, "Well, good luck with it."
Yeah,
they didn't help me, and yeah, it's a terrible feeling as a kid to feel like no one's helping me.
Right.
So I chose.
Maybe that's why you are the way you are, though.
Probably
it made you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things. Through extensive therapy, it's like, well, be grateful for your upbringing, but also, hey, let's work out some of the negative effects too.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But totally, and for me though, it's it's got me in a situation where, like, I mean, dude, I would value money over my family. I'm not spending that money to make my family happy. That's how I used to be. But in this scenario, it's like, I spent a little bit to get her a new car because here I am standing there looking at it going like, man, you know what? This wasn't fair what happened to her. I'm not going to let her downgrade or get something worse.
Right.
I'm going to, I'm going to choose her happiness over my comfort zone by having X amount of dollars in the bank, you know? And it's just been, so I say, what I'm saying is all that to really say that to choose your family over what was comfortable, what was enjoyable is it's just better, man.
Yeah.
I'm learning that now.
I'll tell you this, though. It was really, really hard for about 3 years.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I mean, the residual of the mistakes I made and the things I did and listened to, people I listened to and all of that. It took us a good 3 years to get my family back, to get my wife back.
Yeah. Because you were so busy, you didn't notice the mess.
I didn't.
And now you're living in the mess, like, whoa, this hurts. And, that's kind of where I've been. I mean, it was pretty sobering during COVID to realize, like, I thought I had a super strong marriage and to realize, wait, man, my marriage was hanging by a thread.
Oh man, so many marriages went through such a tough time.
Well, and it was just because here's the mess staring me in the face going, wait, like, I didn't realize this was like this, or I didn't realize how much me being busy actually helped this not be, kind of keep this at a low simmer and not a bubbling boil.
Right.
So having to face that, I'm grateful for it, man, because, like, dude, before I got married, my wife's my best friend, best friend I ever had. And we literally, all that mattered didn't matter. Just hang out. Do you meet? As long as we're in the same room, we're happy people, right?
Right.
Then the years go by. You get married. Things get busy. You start, okay, well, he's busy doing that, and not realizing, wow, she's feeling rejected. She's feeling these ways. And in the end, it's kind of like, and if you're anything like me, you make almost everything about you.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
I get it.
Yeah. And it's not realized, and that was the biggest thing for me is, okay, can't believe I'm at couples therapy. Right? How is this happening?
Right. Yep.
And the coolest thing that happens in couples therapy, at least with where we went, is the first day. It was like, here's a piece of paper. Scale of 1 to 10.
Oh boy.
How badly do you want to stay together? And I'm like,
10.
Well, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, honestly, I'm like 9. But if she puts like 4 or 5, I don't want to seem like
I don't
want to seem like the weak one. Yeah, so I put 7.
Oh boy.
She put 8.
Oh no.
And I'm like,
Tom.
Wait, what? 8? Wait a minute. Why are we even here? What are you talking about? And then I even admitted, like, look, I put 7 because I was afraid she was going to put a lower number.
And the therapist was like, okay.
Yeah. He goes,
we know who we need to counsel here.
Right. But no, in the end though, I realized something. Well, first off, one, it wasn't as bad as we both thought it was.
Right.
And I realized 90% of the problem, 90% was me.
Yeah.
And
me too.
And yeah. And then, I kind of had that epiphany after like 4 or 5 sessions where I'm kind of like, you know what, man? Because I find myself wanting to defend her. Like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm realizing, she probably does that thing because as a reaction to this. And I'm defending her constantly when he says certain things. And I'm going, wait a minute. I'm the problem.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That you were willing to do that.
Yeah. And then
that helped.
And man, let me tell you, it's been amazing for me to realize, wait a minute. I always thought this woman understood me. She doesn't. Sometimes I have to go, hey, I know I just flew off the handle there for a minute on something. Let me explain what I was feeling. And I'll tell her why I was feeling that way. And I've learned to connect the dots. I'm this way because this happened to me as a child. I'm this way because I had siblings that did this.
Right.
I'm this way. And I tell it, and she's like, I never knew that. Okay. So she'll go, what would be a better way for me to tell you that without making you feel that way? I don't know.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it. And before you know it, like, okay, cool. And she'll even tell me, hey, when you do that, it's making me feel this way. And it's like, I did not know you were feeling that way.
Right.
See, it's better to do that than to just be mad, stew, nothing, everything's fine. We've learned to just be honest with each other.
Yeah.
And man, it's been huge.
See, I thought I was a good communicator until I got married.
Yeah.
I really did.
Me too.
But it's just a whole different, level. Trying to get intimate with somebody and be really intimate with them and
know what that means. Even.
Yeah, even understand that. As an only child, I didn't know what it meant to be intimate. I only knew how to deal with myself and my parents.
Well, and for me, I'm a guy. I always see myself as the protector in a situation. I'm the protector. I'm impenetrable. You can't, I'm Superman. You can't break me. It's like, okay, daughter got into a car wreck. Okay, cool. This is what we're going to do, everybody. This, no problem, right? No big deal. Meanwhile, the second I was alone, I'm bawling like a baby because I don't even know why, and I realized why. The whole thing was just overly emotional, but I needed to be strong. It's okay.
Sure.
I'm here. It's going to be okay. My heart's broken because holy crap, she could have died.
Right.
Holy crap. My poor daughter's car that she tells me all the time, I love my car, I love my car, I love my car, makes me so proud that I found it, fixed it up, had it ready. All those emotions of like, that's all gone.
Yeah.
It's all wrecked.
Yeah.
My poor kid, I mean, she came home from work last night, and like when I knew she was off of work, I'm just literally like, she home yet? She home yet? She okay? Like I'm making sure my phone's because she called me 6 times that night. My phone was on silent still, and it like broke my heart that my poor daughter had to call a 7th time, call my wife and got my wife. She called me and I wasn't there.
Yeah,
I was feeling all that too, but I was breaking like when no one was around, and it's like I've learned that. Because I used to feel like, man, my wife needs me to be, I'm Superman. You could always hide behind me.
Right.
To understand that you're supposed to be able to hide behind your wife if you need to.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It does. And that woman will never think less of you for
Maybe
it.
that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she's up front.
And for me, man, it's it's interesting. I even said this at my wedding, like, I just kind of said this, and I remember people looking at me kind of like, huh? And it was true then, and then for some reason it became not true anymore. But I was like, you always make me feel safe. And then it's like, how did I forget that? How did I forget that this woman is a safe place? This is a person that has proven time and time again, if we were under attack, she would happily go back to back with me and fight. I don't need to protect this woman. We can fight the battles together.
Dude, that's a huge realization.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, so she's been huge for me through that. Even through the passing of my mom. My mom, like my wife was just like, what do you need me to do? I got it. What do you need from me? Even giving me grace when I just, I tend to project. If I'm mad about that, not that I take it out on something else, but how I react to something else might be elevated.
Sure. Yeah. I do that too.
I mean, it could be as simple, and I'm just a loud New York guy. Like my family laughs at me with the loud, like the louder I am, because I'll rant at nothing. I'll just be like, not a seltzer again. Gee, come on. And and my wife would be like, "Oh, you drank all 12 already? Yeah, what the heck? Why don't you buy 3 or 4?
I love it when my wife gives it back to me.
Yeah, and I'm like, why don't you
I want her to give it back to me.
Yeah, and I'm like, why don't you buy 3 or 4 cases? Well, they only had 2, and you drank them all already. Why don't you tell me? She's like, why don't you notice when you have 2 left and tell me? It's like, you're right, but I'm sorry.
Yeah. I love you.
Yeah, but then I'll be like, and the mailman's coming at 3:00, and I'll just start ranting about everything that I'm mad about to let everyone know that I'm mad about 55 other things. Just yelling at the garage, yelling at the moon. Like, why are you in the sky?
Too bright tonight.
Yeah, and literally, it's funny. My kids sometimes will, because I'll mimic my daughter. I'll make fun of them at the table. My daughter will be like, you have a good day? Yeah. I'll be like, yeah. My name's Evelyn. Yeah. I don't want to talk to you. So then she'll go, oh, it's like that, Dad? Yeah. And then she'll just start yelling and ranting about nothing. She'll be like,
she'll do you.
Oh, yeah. My little one's
they learned from the best.
Oh, gosh. My little one is the best at all of it. And it's,
do you have a boy, little one, or 2 girls in the house?
So my oldest, 2 girls. My youngest is 12, and she's in that awkward age. You know,
I have a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
So it's a girl.
She's in that physical awkward age, and she's a tomboy. So she comes with me to shows sometimes. You know, here's the funny thing. She just got glasses, right? She picked out similar glasses to me. You know, I started wearing I usually don't wear a hat. It's just I've been wearing a hat last month because I'm too lazy to go get a haircut.
Yeah.
So sure enough, you know, lately what's her style been? Backwards hat. She's copying me, you know. But how many people are like, you know, oh, hey, what's his name? Like, it's my daughter. Because, you know, she's wearing, like, I just noticed it yesterday. Like, we were going to go to the store together. She comes downstairs in jeans and a black hoodie.
There it is.
And a backwards hat and her glasses. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But I'm like, sweetie, you know that people, like, she gets mad when people are like, oh, is that your son? Like, she's like, yeah. She's like, why do people think I'm a boy? I'm like, well, you have like boy-length long hair. You kind of look like a hockey player. You know, you got a hoodie, you got a back, you know, you just look like a Canadian, like most young hockey players.
What I'm picturing is not, you know, it's definitely tomboy. So
yeah. So like, I told her, I go, you wait, like another year or two, like, you know, their body's going to change, even facially, like, because she's starting to look more and more feminine facially and everything. It's like, it's coming, don't worry. And then the boys won't leave you alone, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely been, as far as my kids go, it's definitely been a journey, and I've been coming to that realization that, man, I've been choosing other things over my family, and I regret that. But you know, if we've learned anything from the movie Courageous, and I don't mean that as a joke, is that, you know, it's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Right.
You know, I mean, that is a great, great movie for dads and husbands to realize, man, it's never too late to start being the man you're supposed to be. No. You're called to be.
No.
You know, and you may not be perfect in that journey either.
No, and you never will be. Yeah. But what I've learned about parenting, I have two boys that are 21 and 20 now.
Yeah.
And the best thing I ever did as a parent is let them go. Let them become who they want to be.
Yes.
But always let them know that, number one, I love them. I love them no matter what. And I'm pleased with them.
Yeah.
Because if they know that I love them and I'm pleased with them, they're going to be able to but I'm not trying to control them. I'm not trying to change them. Yeah. I'm just going to let them make the mistakes they need to make.
Right.
If they ask me for advice, I'm going to be there for them. But too much I tried with the first two to change them. Yep. And all it did was cause us to fight and argue and everything. Yeah. But the best thing I could do is just let them evolve into who God made them to be, and watch it and enjoy it and appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's something that I will say, even though, I know it sounds like people have heard me reference like my upbringing and stuff. Like, look, my parents did the best they could based on how they were raised and what they believed was the right thing. One of the best things that my parents ever did for me, because it's created a very capable person who can, you know, survive and, you know, find a way. Kind of, you know, is, you know, I'm very hands off. Even like, you know, I know parents who are literally at every parent teacher conference, right? Every one of those things, man,
and they feel guilty if they're not.
I want nothing to do with any of that. Like, hey, kid, come home with good grades. Right. If you don't, and I got to get involved, you're not going to like it.
You don't want me involved.
You don't want me involved.
Right.
Your teacher ain't going to like me either, because I'm going to question everything they're teaching and their methods. And so it's like, please just do the right thing. And you know what, though? I mean, I had 2 honor roll students. And, you know, I make it less about me controlling it and more about me, you know, congratulating the good results.
Yeah. No, that's the best thing you could do.
And you know what? And this is my advice to any parent. Kid comes to you with all C's, ask them straight up, hey, was this the absolute best you can do?
Right. Great.
That's my question. Did you do your best?
They know.
And 99% of the time.
School's not that hard.
Yeah. The answer is usually, no, it's not the best I can do.
Right.
All right, well, hey, I want to see your best. And I tell my kids this all the time. If your absolute best, if you put everything you have into it and your best is an F, you know what? We'll go out for ice cream anyway.
Right.
But guess what? I know you. I know your best will never be a failing effort.
Right, right.
It might be a B. It might even be a C. But if you show me your best, I promise you I'm going to reward you for it.
Right.
And you know what? they're A and B students. I mean, my little one during COVID struggled because she needs to be interested and challenged.
Sure,
and
yeah.
the way they were teaching during COVID,
Oh, man,
I
it's
didn't
tough.
care. D's, I don't care. They're expected to sit in their bedroom on a computer and do 8 hours of work.
Yeah.
No, not
No.
happening.
Not
But-
everybody's going to be
But
good
yeah,
at
I'm like you. You give now that my 18-year-old, it's like, hey, how's this going? How's that going? You give them room, give them suggestions. Hey, listen, just look out for that, okay?
Yeah.
And if they don't look out for it, hey, at least you told them.
Right.
But my parents used to rub it in if they told you and then you didn't follow it.
Oh,
it would
I hate
just
that.
get rubbed in. I'll be like, that's why I told you.
Right.
But hey, you know what? We're in this together. We'll get through it. We'll figure it out. So what I try to, I'm a big Batman fan. So I try to be with my kids in a way of like, if you flash the bat signal, I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
I like that.
And that's sort of the situation. Like my daughter got in a car wreck, bat signal turned on. Okay,
Sure,
cool.
sure.
Like, she wrecked her car on Saturday. On Wednesday, I had her come into a car dealership to try a car that I found, and she's just like, "I love this car."
Right.
She's like, "How?" And she saw the price tag. She's like, "I thought you weren't going to spend this much." I go, "I figured it out because I want you in something bigger and better, and this wasn't fair." Truth is, what happened to her wasn't fair, and it wasn't her fault, even a little bit. And statistically, that first accident that teens have, you get that accident out of the way, they're usually pretty good for a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's a wake-up call for all these, and she's a very safe driver. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like to let other people drive. I'll let her drive. She's
Yeah.
just
Good.
you know.
She's
And-
your firstborn.
Yeah, and she also comes home and tells me, like, yeah, I hit a curb today, and she'll tell me the situation and what she learned from it.
That builds trust.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that you're telling me you learned something from it, and you're going to look out for it. Cool. Please don't wreck the car. But, it's just one of those things, though, man. It's like, that's the way to be as a dad. It's like, she has a boyfriend. He lives in Arizona, of all places. It's
Okay.
long distance. It's a little crazy. And I just was like, listen, I don't want you to move to Arizona because then the bat signal doesn't reach that far.
Right. Right. It's very dim out there. From here.
You're only 18. And, he's a nice kid, great kid. But you know what? He's not Batman. He's not even Robin.
Right.
You know what I mean? And until
He
you...
might be robbing you.
Right.
Sorry.
But, for me, it's like until he proves to be, he can take over the mantle as Batman or even be Robin, I'd rather you stay here.
Right.
And I think that's fair. I'm a dad, and I think that's a
Sure.
fair request. But she can do what she wants to do. But I think she's better off having Batman close by for now.
I think so.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that the thing is that most young people, myself included, as a dad, like my dad, for better or for worse, kind of he saw my life going down a certain path with a certain relationship that I was in, and he kind of sat me down and yelled. Oh, he yelled at me. Nothing was ever a conversation with my dad. It was always yelling. And it was like, but I know now it was out of desperation and fear. He's a man in his 50s going, listen to me.
Yeah.
If you go down this path, this is what's going to happen. And he predicted a series of events. And I was like, you don't know. You know what you're talking about. You don't know me. You don't know me. Blah. And like, it soured our relationship for a long time.
Right.
He passed away. I was 23. By the time I was 28, I woke up one morning and out of nowhere just heard all the things he yelled at me that day. And I'm like, that happened. I'm living in that. I'm living in the reality he told me would happen. And then, the last thing that he said was going to happen was on the way to happening. And I'm just like, he was right. And having that epiphany of like, but he's dead. I can't even tell him.
Right. Yeah.
I can't even take back the stuff I said. It's like, wow. You learn a lot as a person growing up,
Oh, yeah, you do. I mean, being
Yeah.
a dad, you learn a lot, for sure. So
So
it's crazy.
So you had this podcast. I know you had other successes as a music producer during that time as well. So, so post podcast. Now, if you're like me, I know that you had this super successful thing and all this energy to do that. I'm sure you channeled that into something else. Where did you go? Where did you channel that, like that energy and the entrepreneurship into next?
Well, we had, at the same time that I started the Walker Stalkers, I started a podcast with my wife for our network marketing business, which I never thought I'd ever do. Just make fun of me now. It was an MLM.
Oh, no. You Amway'd?
No, it wasn't Amway, but it was doTERRA, essential oils.
Okay.
Are you ready? I brought oils for you to try.
Did you?
I'm just kidding. I didn't.
Well, actually, it's interesting. This is embarrassing, but I also sell essential oils.
Oh no, it's not Young Living, is it?
It is Young Living.
Oh, dude, we shouldn't even be talking right now.
I'm just kidding. I don't actually
compare notes.
No,
but it's so funny. So anyway, we started this podcast and we grew this business. We have 7,000 customers. So it's actually what's helped fund a lot of the other fun things we get to do.
That's awesome.
So, I dove in.
You need to drink some Ninjixia juice.
I do need to. Yeah. Let's get some. There's Zija or whatever.
I always just call it Ninja juice, but it's V8, bro.
Right.
It's just V8.
Yeah. Where's my oils? Where's my spray?
I will say peppermint oil is a lifesaver when the guy next to you on the airplane smells.
Yeah.
Or the girl next to you.
Yeah.
It's a
breath.
It's really great when your just sinuses are all.
Yeah.
It does work well.
It does.
But
does the job.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I dove into working with our team, and basically it was a team of women. So I was Charlie, and I had my angels. Remember that show, Charlie's Angels? And I had like 20 ladies that I was helping lead, and I realized that they were all dealing with the same issue, which was fear.
Yeah.
And so I started the podcast called Courage Cast for them.
Okay.
And for anyone else that would listen. And so it's basically like motivation, inspiration, things I've learned, and realizing that we had to overcome fear to do our job well and to share and to ask and do the things that we need to do. So that's how it started. So I went head first. It was a 5-day a week, 10-minute or less episode, 5 days a week, just for daily motivation.
Yeah.
I eventually found a love for interviewing people. And initially I tried to break up the interviews into 10-minute chunks and try to do 5 episodes a week, of that whole interview. That became cumbersome. Long story short, I've done 520 of these episodes, and they've been all over the map. And it's veered way off of the doTERRA thing.
520?
520. And I'm actually kind of wanting to I'm revamping that now. I want to just do the Eric Nordhoff official podcast or something. I'm not nearly as controversial as you. I'm actually a really likable guy. I'm probably too likable, and that's probably one of my things is I want people to like me bad.
So I'm controversial and not likable.
You are actually really cuddly and adorable.
Yeah,
but
most people don't know that about me.
Yeah, you are a very adorable guy.
I get told I'm intimidating and things like that.
Nah, not to me. You're a teddy bear.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You are.
I mean,
you've got 2 girls and a wife.
Yeah.
So you've softened.
It's fun.
You have your guy time on the weekends when you go hang.
Yeah, and yet it's funny. I have a guitar player who even said one time he just turned to my drummer for some reason. I forget what we were talking about. He goes, "I don't know anyone who could take Tom in a fight." I'm like, "Why does everybody think I'm so tough?"
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
if you punch me, I'd turtle. Probably.
Would you?
No,
Let's do it.
I'd probably destroy them, honestly.
You probably,
I probably would.
Deck 'em.
But
you
no,
would deck 'em.
Yeah, it's but no, that sounds pretty great. I mean, to take a podcast and have it sort of evolve the way you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows where you'll be 500 episodes later.
Yeah. Right. I mean, right now we're on we just released episode 7. I sound like a Star Wars trilogy. But
Season 7.
Yeah, we're on episode 7, and I think you're episode 10 actually.
Okay, cool.
10 or
perfect 10.
You might be. Yeah, you're episode 10.
Okay.
So that people listening to this,
man, I'm honestly super psyched for you and your podcast.
I'm stoked to have you here too, because we've talked about. See, this is the thing that I love about this podcast, is that people may come to it, and we're not only going to talk about music all the time. We're talking about real stuff, and that's real life.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I'm not ashamed of this at all. I model this very similar off the Joe Rogan podcast, except we're not drinking whiskey and maybe doing mushrooms and things. I mean, let's see. Let's see what happens.
Let's
see what happens. But But for real, like, I mean, I remember one of my favorite episodes of his recently, in recent mind, was Post Malone. And what a nerd Post Malone. He loves cartoons. He loves Marvel movies. Like, it was interesting to hear that. Like, because a lot of people just see him at face value for what they think he is.
Right.
And you're like, wow, is he interesting? Seems like a really cool dude to hang out with.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I like that.
See, I'm not used to being interviewed. I'm used to doing the question. I ask questions really well.
Yeah.
I'm a good, like, straight man.
Yeah.
In the sense of, like, I'm really good at setting you up.
I mean, I'm a good straight man, too.
No, that's a different... Yeah, I believe you're straight. I mean, the oils thing's a little questionable, but...
I mean, you know, my nails are painted. No,
yeah,
it's not true, actually. But
big man hands, actually. But
buying gloves is
what do I do with these hands? Anyway,
jazz hands.
Yeah. So, but
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, Seinfeld. Yeah. So I'm used to. I don't feel like I'm that interesting of a person, but I definitely love getting interested in other people's stories and pulling them out. You know.
Yeah, I mean, and you are interesting because of I mean, again, look at all you've accomplished, and now you have the so you know, you obviously doing that. You're also involved in the writing worship community.
Yeah.
Which now, if correct me if I'm wrong, that's a lot about training and teaching songwriters who are like worship leaders in church.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go deep into it,
Sure.
But Krissy has been. I'm the only one probably that's ever listened to every one of her songs she's ever written. I've been with her since the beginning. You know, I was helping her when I was working in Christian music, doing the sales thing, and I was also on the side as her husband, which that's really hard to pitch your wife's songs to publishers or writers or anybody that would listen, artists. So yeah, she developed as a writer, and over 10, 15 years, she never had one cut living here. And she wrote dozens and dozens of songs. And then she got her break, which I pitched that song to Natalie's manager, Your Great Name. And that is what springboarded everything else from there. From there, we just I helped her kind of build the momentum. I ran all of her publishing and administration. I helped her book concerts and, you know, as an independent artist, and record her music, produce her music, all that stuff. So while I was working in the music industry, and so I don't know where I'm going with that, but so when she started to teach she had this women's group called Brave that she started as like a Girls Write Out. Started as Girls Write Out. She just wanted to mentor, because she didn't have a mentor herself. But she heard God say, "Be what you need," and so she started mentoring younger songwriters, and that turned into, okay, can you teach us about songwriting? Right. And so she started teaching about songwriting, and then she began to mentor like 12 other writers. She built a curriculum that turned into a mentorship program. That's an online mentorship program. I kind of encouraged all of that. You know, like, I think we could do, because I had been listening to people like Grant Cardone and Pat Flynn and
Gary V.
It's a little Gary V. I actually like Gary V now.
Just go to garage sales. Just do it.
Just sell it.
Go to garage sales. Sell your
junk
stuff.
Junk it.
There's a comedian on TikTok who does the most spot on impression of him. And there's one where it's like Gary V and a homeless man.
Yeah.
You know, when he's talking to the homeless man, you know, first the same guy's doing it both parts. But he's like, "Oh, would you give me a few dollars so I can eat?" And he's like, "Nope." You know, he's like, you know, and he's like, what do you mean no? Garage sales, bro. Got to go to garage sales. That's the answer. He's like, you know, I envy you right now. The guy's like, I'm homeless. Like, I don't have a garage. And he's just like, I envy you. I wish I was homeless. Yeah. He goes, you know, takes his hat. Oh, I love this hat right now. I would do anything to start over. And it's just, the guy's like, and it's just funny because that's Gary V's demeanor of challenge. Like,
give me a challenge.
Give me a challenge. Oh, lose? Oh, I want to lose?
I know.
Let me lose.
Brilliant. He's brilliant.
Yeah. Crazy.
But so I studied all this stuff, and I was like, I'd see it all as like a big experiment. Podcasting was a big experiment. Just anything I do, I just think it's fun. We should be playing more.
Isn't life just a big experiment?
It is, dude.
You know,
We should just be playing more. If you can be lost in something, I mean, we're all just kids at heart, right? Like, let's just be lost in it and like get caught up. As soon as we get super caught up in whatever it is, fame or money or whatever else, we lose the joy.
Yeah.
You know,
and the joy and the wonderment, and you know, the thing that I've come to realize is, man, you know, and I wish I would have learned this 10 years ago. Or 20 years ago even, because, man, you know, we get so jaded in life. We get so, you know, so tore up. And, you know, I think that as kids, one of the greatest tools that we ever had was an imagination. And one of the most fun things, I think, when I think back to when I was little and played with my friends is, man, we played, everything was pretend, right?
Yep.
Let's pretend this. And we had the blast pretending it, right?
Yeah.
Well, the reality of it is, man, we're all just still playing pretend.
Yeah, we are.
But we take it so serious.
Yep.
And, you know, and like right now, we're playing pretend. We're playing podcasts.
Like, look at this.
We're playing radio show.
This
That's
is
what we're
so
doing.
fun.
Right, and it's fun.
Yeah.
But here's a cool thing. We take pretend and we turn it into something that maybe pays bills or feeds us. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, you strike me as a guy with a very similar heart to me where, yes, we do it because we enjoy it. But the hope is, at least for me anyway, someone's going to see at some point, man, if that guy can do that, maybe I can do this idea that I had.
Right.
You know, and that's what I think that we often fail to do as people is to realize, yes, it's possible. I mean, you know, I still have some weight to lose, but I at one point was like, hey, I need to lose 50 pounds. So I was like, you know what? And then the 50 pounds came off like no big deal. It was like nothing. And I'm like, well, maybe I can lose 100. I did. I lost 100.
Wow, dude. Really?
Lost 103 pounds.
Wow.
In the end of 2018, early 2019.
Good.
COVID gave me back 35.
The COVID 30.
Yeah, not happy about that. But and then I don't know, my body just is not losing the weight as easily as it
you're
once
in your 40s now.
Yeah. So it's but you know, it's still doable. It's still possible. It's just I have to.
Takes more work.
Well, and for me, it was a very scientific approach. It was understanding how my body reacts to certain foods and just making sure I was burning a certain amount of calories. You know, people think sitting at a desk, when you sit at a desk, you're burning way less calories than if you have a physical job. And a lot of people like me, the more physical I am, the more hungry I get. So I tend to eat more as a result.
Right.
You have to fight that urge, and it's a little tough. You know, but anyhow, but ultimately it's like, you know, you turn these, you know, and for me it was like, it was a game of pretend. Like, let me pretend I'm a health guru, and you know, let me eat like a bird, and it was great, and I was healthier than I probably have ever been.
Yeah,
and I'm still a healthy guy as a result because I still eat healthy foods.
Yeah,
just don't eat I eat more of it than I should.
By the way, side note, what's the best coffee shop around here?
Around here in Murfreesboro, best coffee shop for me is my Keurig in my office. But no, as far as shops, right here in Murfreesboro.
Is that where you got that?
This here is Brass Horn Coffee.
Brass Horn.
Yes.
Is that close by?
It's literally right next door to the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want some Brass Horn.
Yeah. Well,
it looks good.
Yeah, and so we are going to wrap up here. I guess the way I like to wrap up every one of these shows is two things. One, if somebody wanted to reach out and get in touch or follow you, what's the best way for people to do that?
Okay. Instagram.
Okay.
At Eric Nordhoff on Instagram. Probably my website, ericnordhoff.com. Pretty easy. Nordhoff.
Be sure to like and follow Eric Nordhoff. And before we go, I will ask, is there anything that you have coming up that you want people to know about?
The only thing that I would say we have coming up, if you are a writer of any sort at all, come join our writing worship community. It's not just for worship songwriters. I love community. Krissy and I have a heart. We had an amazing conference in September. And if you are at all interested in writing songs and you want to be in a kind of an authentic place of people that champion you, but don't baby you, that tell you the truth, but need to, but also encourage you somehow along the way, come join the writing worship community. That's it.
So you're a bunch of Simon Cowells.
We are, sort of. A nice Simon
from
Cowells.
It's a no from me.
No, dog.
I feel like your lyrics could be stronger. You know, that's a common thing you hear. Is you know, the idea of a lyric being strong or clever. Or a lot of the songwriting lingo is so cool. It's like, you know, when people are.
You know what the secret is?
What's that?
Well, I there was one thing I wanted to say. Sorry, I got caught off on the brass horn, but I just wanted to ask you or tell you this. We were talking about letting go and letting our kids go.
Yes.
I just want people to know, if there's anything you can take with you, is surrender is the key to every single thing in your life, and letting go is the key. Whether it be relationships, surrender with your Heavenly Father. Isn't that the journey, though?
It is.
That we're on, we're just on this journey of letting go. And it reminds me of, sorry, I'm really going to get cheesy here, but Lost, you know, the TV show Lost.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of the show. The whole show, they are learning to let go. And it's not until the very end that they finally like release all the hurts and all the wounds.
Yeah.
Everybody's story resolves when they let it go and just take it for what it is, as an experience, as part of your journey. Yeah. And I think we're meant to learn how to surrender while we're here. So I don't know why. I just wanted to make sure I said that.
You know what? And I have a song that's out there called "I'm Letting Go," and it's very much about that. It's actually about not fighting for control anymore.
Yeah.
And you know, letting go isn't giving up. It's just trusting a process, or trusting that you know, that this path you're on is right. And you know, and again, just trying to, because that ultimately, when we hang on to things like our hurts and everything, we're trying to control it.
Yep. It's what causes disease when we hold on to it. I mean, our bodies physically are affected by it. Stress.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the more you can learn to just daily surrender, that's why we're meant to daily, you know, let things go. Anyway, whatever. I love it.
That's a great way to end it. I appreciate that. That is, so if you take anything away from this, know that Lost is a great lesson in life. And
watch all 6 seasons.
So what you're saying is surrender.
Yeah.
Or you'll become a zombie and get shot.
Exactly. And you'll be selling oils the rest of your life.
Selling essential oils and podcasting. But thank you again for being on the show, man. It was really awesome to hang out with you and get and learn from you. And
you bet, bud.
I look forward to all the cool things you got coming up.
Look forward to it.
All right.
Thanks,
Wrap
man.
it.